Luke Spiegelhoff is the clinical director with Nexus Family Healing. He's a family therapist, parent educator, here with some tips on conversations with your kids about politics. Luke, thanks for joining us.
You bet. Good to be here.
This is can be a touchy topic.
A bit of a landmine.
Actually, I'm going to say it is a touchy topic.
For sure.
It
Right.
can be.
Yes, it can be. And the biggest thing often for parents to remember is that because it's this topic that's a bit emotional, right, and particularly intense emotion and fear. And so it can bring up a lot of things for kids, especially as they go back to school, about what they're going to hear, and we were just talking about how friends talk to each other and what that can do, what they can bring up for them.
So how do you start the conversation at home with your kids? I mean, I'm looking at my kids, they're going back to middle school this year. And obviously we talk politics in our house. How do you have that conversation with the kids? Do you want them to, my kids will regurgitate what they hear on the news, what they hear mom and dad talking about.
Right.
Mine aren't able enough to make their own decision on political things, but we do have the discussions, right? So how do you help kids with that?
Right. I think know your audience, right? So if they're younger, more than likely in early elementary and younger, probably not a good idea to talk a lot about politics because kids tend to take on the stress that's around them. And so if we're feeling stressed, if we're feeling nervous about this political cycle and this election coming up or some of the interactions we're having with our friends, it's probably not good to share a whole lot of that with younger ones because they'll just take that on. But as you get to kind of late elementary, especially in the middle school, kids start to become very aware of belief systems. And so I think it's okay. It's fine for parents to be talking with their kids about this is what we believe. And this is how we approach the world. This is how we do things, and to share that with their children. Now, usually when they're younger, kind of late elementary, in the middle, they'll tend to mimic a lot what their parents say. Really, probably without knowing much of the context. If they, for instance, if they're a Trump supporter, they would say, Trump's the best, but really not know why.
Yep.
And then so you have to work with particularly middle school aged youth and helping them understand some of the nuances that are related to how you come up with your beliefs or develop your beliefs as a family. And then obviously go to high school, much more independent thinkers. I think then you start to have them start to reflect a little bit. What do you think of these beliefs that we have? Do you have other different ones that maybe we could talk about? That type of thing.
And they're going to go to school. I think regardless of the age, they're going to go to school, and this stuff's going to come up.
Oh, for sure.
And then they're going to come back home, and I don't know. Maybe they'll want to talk about it, but maybe they might just say things and you'd be like, whoa, where did that come from?
Right.
And I suppose it's pretty important how you react to that because
Absolutely.
Theoretically, we're having an adult discourse over politics and we're all acting like adults and we're listening, right? I mean, so we've got to kind of try to do that with the kids, right?
Yes, and take some of the kind of the reaction out of it. Particularly as kids get into middle school, but particularly high school, kids start to individuate, they differentiate, and it's not unusual that many kids start to take on other beliefs than what their parents have. So as parents, we want to be sensitive to that without necessarily saying, well, that's not what we believe around this house. We want to be able to kind of, hey, tell me where you heard that, or tell me what are making you think that way about this topic or this situation.
Is it ever appropriate to tell the kids, like, we just don't want to share political views outside of school, or outside of the home, don't share this with your friends? Or do you think that having that conversation, even at like the middle, elementary, high school level, is important for kids?
I think knowing those boundaries.
Yeah.
If they're with their good friends and they, and sometimes even the child themselves, their temperament, some kids would, dive right into kind of, things that can create conflict, and other kids are much more reserved about that. And so it's a little know your audience, and so work with your kids about what you think might be their best approach. For instance, if it's a kid who's maybe conflict avoidant, really teaching some of the skills about how do they help remove themselves from situations particularly where conflict could occur. Teaching them like, hey, can we talk about something else, or let's go play this, or let's go, giving some distractions, some of those tools. Whereas youth who might be much more comfortable with, kind of addressing topics, particularly political topics with their peers, might be just knowing where's that line, where it's just friendly banter or discourse, and where it starts to cross the line between something more unhelpful with their friends.
And as we get closer to the election, you suggest maybe having some of these conversations more often?
Oh, sure.
Like just as far as a check-in?
Yeah. Absolutely. You know, I'm thinking here, we haven't even begun to see the political ads coming out, right? And so all this is going to culminate and there's lots of energy around these issues, right? There's this polarization in this country. And so, but a lot of energy, emotional energy is going to be coming towards this as we head to the elections in the fall. And the kids are going to be right in the thick of it in school. Kids are going to be talking about it. So it is having those conversations with your kid and helping them kind of sort through that is really what's most helpful.
Look, is there, I mean, I feel like this is such an important topic. Is there anything that we didn't ask you about that you think is important to know with dealing with kids in politics?
I think for equipping them, practicing, I think sometimes parents, we have these conversations with our kids, but we really don't know if they get it. So I think practicing skills with their kids of, like, for instance, having to change the subject or that type of thing, that's not easy. Kids always want to save face with their peers, so teach them how to kind of make a shift but save face with their peers. That's an important one. And then probably one of the final pieces of this is just kind of, as a parent, manage your own reactions in this process, because kids,
they're seeing it all.
They're seeing it all, and they're going to take on, particularly if they're younger, take on a lot of that stress possibly that parents might be taking on in this. So checking yourself. So there really is, and then maybe as a piece of this, that both parents and kids learn how to separate themselves from the stress when needed. And there's a couple real easy things we can do as people. One is just remember our physiology, our breathing.
Yep.
And that's so often mentioned when we're on stress, but it's so important because when we get nervous, we tend not to breathe very deeply or very shallow, so which causes us to tense up just physically. So just
deep breaths.
Mindful breaths.
Everybody, keep doing those deep breaths.
And then the other piece is just being aware of teaching your child what can they accept about the situation. For instance, their friend may have a different opinion than theirs about political ideology or whatever. But we really want to value friendship over politics.
Right.
I mean, we do this all the time, right, as adults. And then the last piece is just really teach them how to shift their mood with this. And so when they need to create a different emotional experience, do something fun, do something enjoyable. Just get them away from the stressors.
Great idea.
Really great
Luke,
tips.
thank you.
You bet.
Out of time, we'll put more information for you on MinnesotaLive.com.